not familiar with the Muckenthaler, I'll tell you just a little bit about it. This was actually a family home in the 20th century. This may have been the parlor, the living room, something like that we're sitting in right now. But in the late 60s, it was converted to an arts venue, and the poetry series that we do here is one of the many terrific programs that we do every year at the Muck. And we've been doing the poetry shows here since 2008. We do about 4 or 5 a year. And I'm very proud to say for the very last poetry show here in 2011, we are going to be launching the first book by Susan Davis. Davis? Now, usually, this is the part of the reading where I tell the audience about the poet, but is there anyone in this room, honestly, who doesn't know who Susan Davis is? I think I'm talking to a very savvy audience right now. For the uninitiated, if there are any uninitiated, Susan is the head of undergraduate creative writing at UC Irvine. She's been a widely published poet for many years. She was last year's winner of the Rebecca Lard Poetry Award. And this book here, I Was Building Up to Something, is her first collection. It's also the 14th book from Moontide Press. And just in closing to introduce her, I'd like to read some words that were posted here on the back cover of the book. These were written by someone who unfortunately isn't with us today, but he is here in spirit, and that's the former poet laureate of the United States, Robert Pinsky. And he wrote this about Susan. Susan Davis's book has the indelible yet understated quality of certain great photographs. Sharp edges of narrative, clarity of emotion, distinct images and declarative sentences, the velvet, gradated shadows of moss, unpredictable rhythms of violence and tenderness in country life and family life. From the precisions of that exacting surface rise the mysteries of life itself, caught in the trigger slices of these urgent, concentrated poems. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Susan Davis.
Can everybody hear me okay? Well, that's good. I'm not going to say any thank yous at first because I'll cry. Well, I might do that anyway, but I think I'm just going to jump right in and read. But thank you all for coming. I'll try to, I wasn't sure if I was going to come after the juggler. That would be a hard act to follow. Dominoes. All right, he said, reaching to the windowsill, to the yellowed box cinched with a red rubber band and spanning out the ivories. But you'll lose. The day was cooling on their hill of trees, magnolia and pin oak where the guinea hens roosted and screeched at cicadas. An island in cotton welling up over pointed pockets, waiting for the picking of gin. He sat at the game table, tall in his chair, leather-banded Stetson on thin old hair and a liver-spotted head. He pushed the pile to me. I'm giving you a down, sister. I drew my 7. The dove said, get your pole, get your pole. He fumbled with a dial. A clear wire wound up the khaki shoulder to his ear. I swung bare legs. He nudged me with his cane, a narrow, whittled cypress knee. You study long, you study wrong. And I slid my bone across to make a dime. That was Mother's father, that's why she's giggling. He used to say that to her a lot, didn't he? Earthworm. Leaves are moldering in the black grit after rain. I sweep them, leave a corduroy of slime that might have hidden here. He wrestles with the air. I stop to watch the rose-gray head fingering long rows at joined untidy angles, translucent sausage of small continents naked in the sun. Into a brick's mortar cave he loops against himself for comfort or safety. A leaf boat with scalloped gunnels settles close. St. Lawrence. Through the plate glass window of the Adirondack house, its boulder rock porch shutting out what warmth the north sun makes, she watched the ships go up the river past 1,000 islands, the brochure said. They took her there, as if she were their grandchild and the only one. When he let her drive the boat going past those islands with their 1,000 houses, some doors 50 feet from channels deep enough for ocean-going ships, rumble currents dragged at them. She knew this was not the river of brown silt and minnow swarms, but a river army joined in a dark occupation. The proper yards were green enough, and there were brown-shaped boathouses wrapping themselves with party decks, each wider than a porch. They passed 3-tiered boats filled with drinking people, water winds snapping at their fork-tongued flags. The people didn't seem to know or care about treachery in the water in places he pointed out to her, where it stopped its little lapping and glazed like a stove-pot soup surface just before the boil. He taught her to fear the river as he did. She believed he loved it more than he loved her, and that he loved to fear it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Sisters, which is appropriate because there they are. We came from a place in my father's head. Sorry. When he is gone, so gone the place. To be in the place with him is to be home. To be away from it is to wait. Altar call. Today, he began, if you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. More than anything, I didn't want a hard heart. My sister slipped onto the bench and started playing. Softly and tenderly, Jesus is calling, come home, come home. A song that prompted confession, the way lullabies call to sleep. What to renounce as a girl of 8. How to come home in my father's church, sun streaming through colored windows we had caulked, onto floors we mopped the night before, ye who were weary. I was weary of something I couldn't name. With a handkerchief I had ironed and folded, he wiped his face, scanning the heads of the bowed for the one who buries when Jesus is pleading. He came down from the pulpit to stand at the front. No one moved, so I went to him, trying again to come home. A sick child in a winter house I propped up on pillows in their room off the kitchen. Crayons at the lip of a hospital table, snow lighting the organza. Mother hummed at the stove. I heard my father's boots stamp. Then he slipped up in sock feet, kissing her neck. He lifted lids, red-faced in the steam, and stirred with a ladle, making round music in the pan. Taking care. In March, a boy had broken through and drowned. Now that our brother was going to college, we girls couldn't cross the field to reach the pond. The snow was too deep for Lydia anyway, her first winter on real skates. Late summer before he left, John used the tractor's snowplow to cut into the back grade. He was in Louisiana by the time Daddy danced in one morning singing about the hoary frost. We didn't notice he had bought a longer hose and kept filling up a dirt rink with water. By the first hard freeze, the old bell-shaped speaker was hung underneath the eaves. Wires snaked through the study window. That's where he sat, side lit by his desk lamp when the snow began to fall. Bundled in wet wool, we skated to his sodden Strauss waltzes, arms out, catching the fat flakes on our lashes. A lot of people, Dave, a lot of people are standing up. Is this for them to sit or anything? No? There's one. We've got two over here. I'll pause. Oh. See him in a long time. Heavenly bodies. Here's two more. I'll wait a second. Two more chairs? Collier, you want to sit over here? I'm sure you're on the show for me. Yes. I'm a traffic cop. She called me too. Yeah, Jeff. And there's chairs in the hall, you come in.
I borrowed one of your caps.
I guess we could sing a carol or something while we're waiting.
It's been a while since you've read some songs.
That's right. We used to go to their house when the children were about this small and sing Christmas carols. And we even had one we sang to a dog. And the dog responded. They get tired of being left out. I mean, in a musical way.
Thank you, Susan, for reminding us New York is, yeah, it's a pleasant memory. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll continue. Heavenly bodies. The mile-high hawk sees a field mouse scratch. God can do more things with his eye. It is a red star drilled into the galaxy. Tonight, it dragged up the moon with spider silk, dispensing and retracting from his holy pupil. As he kept margin high and right, the moon lopsided and tried rolling off through curdled clouds. Twice it threw me out of conversation, the lower light. I measured the rising as it bleached to alabaster and took on hardness, more splendid in silence than anything I had to say. Vocational. The air filled with raz and wine and the smell of burnt fuel. He turned and turned in it and did not get sick, forcing them to dive and climb with two wires on a handle. In the fields behind the church, he flew the planes. Balsa, their skeletons could be balanced by taping a dime on the nose. I helped him, or thought I did, trying to be the other brother, or the father who likes hobbies. Mostly he let me. He used a fine grain to sand the frame dull and the color of almond shells. He trimmed and glued tissue paper to it and brushed it with water. Each plane was painted when the paper dried tight. It was better not to be around when the brushes were spidering red and black designs, tongue working hard against the inside of his cheek. Gravity. Ticking marks seconds players use to list words starting with a single letter. It is the end of concentration and a style of thinking. I have won before, and the smile of summer at tables under trees, rugs looped on little metal spikes, and sheets stiff from sun drying. Oh, the looping car sighs in the suburb summer. The tire blimp is grinding over like a rainless thunderstorm. 10 years ago, its pilot grabbed a trailing rope to reattach the mooring, and it took him off into the small plain space just above the houses, but high enough. He was trying to save it. He was going up with the ship, and then he was falling away. What was he thinking? When did he know he had misjudged? At the gym, we talked fat, muscle, bicep curl, lunge. If he had been stronger. She says work to failure, exhaust the muscle. And I want to rest. I get tired of holding on. His body whipping along like a flag over the woman strolling her baby and the boy cutting grass for his father. People watched the towers burning and groaned as the bodies dropped a very simple way. There's no help, then falling is what's left to do. Morphology. A grasshopper moves in his sill above the sink. Deliberate, and as if with pain, his left feet test the glass. Right one's dragging the body on. The farther up he goes, the less green he is, stark against overcast day, a splaying V divining for the trembling mouth. At the top, he finds he has traversed a box of light, yielding nothing but a rim. Where did he plan to be when he stopped his lagging climb, frozen, symmetrical against its slick face? My father's camellia. I wrote a note here that says water. And I brought this little bottle so that Michelle would think I was taking care of myself, because this is what she always drinks. And I like the look of the bottle. My father's camellia. We just talked about that. He makes a hole with a pencil and slides the slips he's pruned into vermiculite and a compost made of sand and chopped pine needles. He puts chemicals in the water. Or he grafts one slender piece into a thick stem and binds it there with florist tape. It takes 3 years to bud. He won't always remember what colors the flowers will be. I have a picture of one. Camellia red with 2 double petals, sprayed white like an Appaloosas rump. He called it Birdie May after Mother. It was new, and you get to name new flowers anything you want. The last good time. He lay dying in a hospital many weeks, couldn't speak through a breathing mask. They played hymns for him on a boombox in the window. He told doctors, he told us, no code. In my turn at vigil, he kept taking off the mask. My job to keep it on. I stood there with it, just above his nose. He whispered. I leaned in. Alexander, he said. I said, what? This production needs Alexander's Ragtime Band. I hummed and sang it what I could recall, and it might as well be spring, and Turaluralai. He closed his eyes. I said, Does this comfort you or keep you awake? Both, he said. Shall I stop? No, he said, sing some enchanted evening. Rhythms. It's his best time, Mother said, to get me up on visits. The summer before I married, he woke me at 5, coffee and sausage biscuits in the idling truck. Through draping mosses, with a single arm aft, his paddle's fish motion propelled the shallow boat. I'm going to start this one over. We can't really be interrupted, I'm sorry. Rhythms. It's his best time, Mother said, to get me up on visits. The summer before I married, he woke me at 5, coffee and sausage biscuits in the idling truck. Through draping mosses with a single arm aft, his paddle's fish motion propelled the shallow boat. If he can send it from this estrangement of bliss he's acquired, I beg my lonely father's pardon. I was building up to something and thought I had more time. She says, no, that's okay. It's just the name of the book, you know? Among other things. Among other things. You have to do that. Undertaking. She had to wash away the black silt worked into his pores, into the wrinkles around his eyes that made him look older than his 47 years. She walked his naked length on the table at her waist where she kneaded dough, where she told the men to place him. She had given them the children and made them all leave. She took her time. By lantern light, she washed each finger, cleaning underneath the nail with the splinter sheathed in cotton. She started once to wrap him in a blanket. He was so cold. She found a mole on his hip she never knew was there. I thought he would have liked to have her find the mole like this when he was still alive. I said to you when the husband died, the way it's done now, they make her leave the room. Leave the body with a stranger who zips it up in a plastic bag, tags it like a specimen, puts this warm, sweet body in a drawer. They let a stranger handle you that one last time. They would have to drug me. They would have to drag me away. Remember how I told you that. Another sip. One of my students told me once, all your poems are so sad. I said, well, sometimes they're kind of funny, but maybe not so far. We'll have to. I'll tell you the one that's funny before I read it. Yeah, I noticed that when I was listening to a Billy Collins reading on NPR or something, and you know, all of his poems are hilarious, and then he had this poem that was very serious. It was like obituary. And he started reading it, and everybody's in hysterics. And I'm a poetry teacher. So I thought, why are you laughing? That's when your expectation gets ahead of what you hear. Right? So each time they would burst, you know, then he'd keep going. And then the next time it would be a little... By the time he got finished, they finally got that it wasn't really a funny poem. I mean, who expects him to do that? So I'll let you know. So you won't cry on the funny poem. It's not this one. But this is my husband Jim's favorite poem. So about a clothing label. So, obviously not mine, because the title is called Fraser Lawrence Petite, but I don't know where it came from. It was in my house. No, well, I have live, wonderful children, but we're none of us, you know, small and tiny. I'd stop before more trouble. Fraser Lawrence Petite. A label of cream glossy stock, ink evergreen, inscribes a stylized a rising sun in morning glory border, tendril, indent, boxed by thick straight line, inside whose frame 9 beams may beam into the vines all day and on until the ink begins to fade and paper lose the glue that bonds its molecules. For all the wondering they do in their green cage, for all the frail, free-roaming trail they traipse, touching the border in one place, dumb trumpets leaning at the static sun, the flowers, I count 44, will not drop from their stems, will not make more. Got the wrong page number, something. So I'll have to look it up. Illnesses. Under the copper pot, the flame maintains a gasp. Anne says, that's my other sister, Anne says, drink tea from a flared porcelain cup with a thin lip so it cools fast and doesn't lose flavor. She has phoned to say our cousin died of pneumonia, the same way our father did. Cold out the back door is finding chill from the front window and need to close it. Sick when you're little can be a game against complacency in the house. When you're not, it strengthens your immunity or kills you. I haven't been able to taste anything. Dozing in my chair, I don't feel good when my friend asks after my disturbance on her way to the movies. At 7 o'clock, there's still time. At the window, with summer dark near, eating glazed walnuts from a bag, I see the lovely woman across the street playing games with her little girls, Daisy and Violet. My face forms what I think I used to see on older women who gave advice. Some of it was good, and I wonder if she likes it coming from me. I also give her the girls' better matching sweaters and mittens and free tickets to children's things. They are sometimes shy with the dog, running off, waving a wand or pink boa. Tonight they are seen. I hope someone records those little bursts of early soprano. This is the funny one. I mean, I thought it was funny, but, and Jim says I don't need to explain this, but the Bulls are running in Newport Beach, and that doesn't happen, okay? I just, some people, you know, oh yeah, the Bulls are, no, this is not true. This is a fantasy. For me, this is weird, but that's what it is. It's just, you know, so I just wanted to let you know that, because when the bull shows up, you gotta be ready. Signs of the end. On the day the Bulls ran in Newport Beach, I was home with pink eye. My best friend, a dentist, sat in the laundry with 4 down comforters, cycling on high. The window shattered, and there he stood, a green washcloth and a bra hanging from his left horn. It seems symbolic, with tsunamis and earthquakes and rumors of war and Shia Catholic. Our generation may be self-absorbed, but eschatology is not lost on me. She said he stood there, smelling like Clorox and salt wind, snorting at her through his nose ring, kayakers in riot behind. I feel like that sometimes. People staring, a lime in my hand, having forgotten what needs zesting. That's the cooks, those are all the cooks laughing. Because they know, they're standing there with it, wait a minute, this is supposed to go with. It's kind of a competition.
Oh, she made, well, we're gonna have to do it next week, we're gonna have to make.
And it doesn't work, it just keeps, the elevated food thing reaches proportions. Paradigm. The dentist is getting back here. I don't even think Paula, did you come? No. See, she got into 2 poems and she didn't even come. Paradigm. The dentist took my daughter's stubby hand and clamped it in tooth impression goop. Hardened now, unnaturally pink and seamed like Frankenstein, her 5-year-old fingers measure mine. She's in the backyard learning how to wrestle a mean girl on the swim team. A varsity boy is teaching her. Even if it hurts, she won't quit. I don't wish she were 5 again, pinching my thumb web for sleep, or that more was saved than this right hand severed wrist, my paperweight with texture like artifacts from raided tombs. So that's one daughter, and then here's the other one. We know. Back from stairwells and bedroom doors of Philadelphia, our friend wants to have a child with a man who has his own partner. How can that work? Oh, could we go back, she says, knowing what we know now. Knowing we know nothing? Things I knew at 10 and 17, I no longer know. It came from being 10 and 17. My daughter says, I love this one, Mom. What do I do? Why is she asking me? Progeny. My conclusions are often wrong, but I don't find out until it's too late. Then again, who gets to say it's too late? I'm not dead yet. That sounds like my daughter. She thinks she'll never die. If I were 16 with such fierce grandmothers, I might feel the same. They'll live to be 100, and that's a conclusion. Endings got heavier with my father's death. The only son after my brother, the only son. Now my aunts and their sons are dying as if a plague had been designed to stamp out the family. I read about the Tutsis and the Hutus in Rwanda. In Waimanalo, they wait for the day when the north part of Oahu will be returned to the Kanaki Maoli. I don't know how my great-aunt Maddie's land was split up when she died. There are no natives left to give it to. I don't think Anna Claire will keep up the practice of stocking the pond and giving each grandchild for birthdays an acre and a calf to raise. Sums. Sometimes you feel like cooking a big meal for 10 people. And sometimes you just want to go to bed with tea and a story written by someone you love. Or you just want to go to bed with someone you love. Or you just want to go to bed. My husband's not sure he really likes that or not. Okay, so we come to the season. The season begins in a waiting room. Bing Crosby Crosby makes in me a kind of wistful that I want to take home. Is there anything wrong with it once a year? Flaherty's documentary claimed that Nanook's people were the happiest on earth. Nanook starved to death 3 years later hunting seals. Our lives are shaped by plot, my friend says, being the protagonist, which makes all the others added on. Growing up, every Sunday for an hour, it wasn't my life. 10 lepers were healed. 1 came back with gratitude. In the background, there are more post-war standards. A boy lisping, "All I want for Christmas is teeth." Next, muted trumpets and a big band sultry "Santa Baby." In the Pacific, sharks had eaten 2 of 3 floating crewmen. This one came home. The war was over. Everything was good. The Lost Boys, sorry. The Lost Boys of Sudan moved to Syracuse and work at McDonald's in the produce section of grocery stores. They want to send money and safety back to the camps. The Red Cross finds John's mother. In Oneida County Airport, she keens around him in tribal robes, a scene. She thought he was dead. I miss my mother too, her innocence. Not today. Spencer Ward just checked in with Dr. Farivar's nurse. He has light brown hair and rimless glasses, a lavender shirt with no tie. Harry Belafonte croons, "Heart now, hear the angels sing in his liquid way." The Lost Boys want to go back, swim in the Nile, even with crocodiles. They don't care that New York has the doctors. In this room, we all are waiting for the doctor. No one is great among us. This is our best joy. Thank you. Actually, I did say I was going to thank people at the end, and I need to do that because, but I can't do it exactly by name because here, see, I can use my scarf, but everybody in here has contributed in some way to my getting to a place where I could do this and stand up here and read it. Especially the publisher, Michael Miller, and his editor, Ricky Mandeville, and Michael Wada, who helped design the cover on the book. And, wonderful editors. And also Michelle Lathule, who wrote this really, they say if you look at a book and the writing on the outside is better than what's inside.